Hi everyone, I am backstage at Golden Hills Community Church in Brentwood, California, getting ready to go on for rehearsal. There's our stage entrance right there behind me, but I wanted to record really quick the difference between knowing and being known, as talked about in chapter 5 of Out of Control and Loving It. About 3 years ago, I was at a Bobcat football game, and this woman walked up to me, gives me a hug, starts asking me personal questions, and I had no idea who she was. She knew my name, she knew my husband's name, she knew that I was pregnant, even though we hadn't even told anyone yet. We had just found out, hadn't told anyone, but she knew. Turns out we had some friends in common, and she knew through the grapevine. She recognized me because I led worship at her church. She had attended a few women's events that I had led worship at, had been at a couple things that I had spoken at, and so she felt like she knew me. But I had no idea who she was, and that's a great illustration of what Lisa Bevere was talking about in chapter 5, the difference between knowing someone and being known by them. If she had been known by me, I would have known her name. I would have known her husband's name. I would have known the names of her kids. Instead, she was just this complete stranger. So when she started coming up and talking to me, I was completely confused and a little creeped out. So just an example that I thought was appropriate for this book chapter. And let's move on to chapter 6. Hello everyone, still backstage at rehearsal, had another minute, wanted to talk to you a little bit more about chapter 6, Shake Us to Wake Us. I'm going to share my shaking story. In June of 2014, my husband, out of the blue, was hired by UC Berkeley, which is one of the top research institutions in his field, to come down here to California and work for them. And I freaked out. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the San Francisco Bay Area is one of the most expensive places in the country to work. I was in school. We had a 1-year-old. We couldn't afford daycare on our salary back in Montana, so there was no way that was going to happen down here. And so I flat out said no. My husband kept saying, yes, we're going. One way or another, it's going to work. And it did. But so that was on a Friday. The following Wednesday, we found out that I was pregnant with our second child, Michael. And that freaked me out even more. Berkeley wanted us down here March 1st, so 6 months later. I was due April 13th. When you are 8 months pregnant, it is not the perfect time to be moving 5 states and 1,000 miles away, but that's what we did. And also, none of the OBs down here were taking new patients. None of them. I called every single one of them every single day. Every OB from San Francisco to Sacramento every day, looking for a doctor who would take me and was willing to fit me into their schedule, because 5 weeks after we got here, I needed to have a C-section. Never in my life have I felt as out of control as I was during that season. The only choice that I had was to give it to God and just trust that He was going to take care of it. And I did. After, I'm going to say a good solid 6 weeks of trying to wrap my head around it, trying to control how things were going to happen in my own time, I eventually realized that I had to just give it to God, and He took care of everything. He made it possible for me to transfer to a different school and get my tuition paid for. He found us a perfect house. He even had the church that we were going to come to all lined up, and here I am right now as I'm talking to you backstage waiting for rehearsal to start. So I, in all of my infinite human wisdom, could not have orchestrated things to happen the way that God did, once I finally gave Him control. Chapter 7. The author makes a really great point that I think we all need to contemplate. Most of us dress up the outside either to hide the inside or to the neglect of the inside. God can make the inside match the outside, but only if we give Him control of it. Chapter 8. This chapter reminded me of something that I think is significant and ties in really well with chapter 7. That is, billions of dollars are spent every year on beauty treatments, on makeup, on skincare. And no matter how much money we spend, we cannot outrun aging. The tracks of time will track across your face anyway. But that's not true for your soul. Your soul is ageless. And all it takes to beautify your soul is to spend time with your Savior. Chapter 9. The issue in this chapter is one that a lot of the women who come to me for help are dealing with, of micromanaging their lives instead of just trusting that God's got it all. And time again, I find myself telling them, give it to God. Trust God. You can't do it, but He can. He can do anything, and He can take care of it. And if you just give it to God, your life would be so much easier. That's it for this week. We are actually going to finish the book next week. So push on through those last 5 chapters, and we will see you next Thursday. Bye-bye.